Hi there, Leigh Farnell here, and I want to share with you something I'm really excited about. This theory of marginal gains. It's so central to what we do at LFBB, and it really is based on and highlighted by the great work that Sir David Brailsford did with the British cycling team, and how we can leverage off that with your business team and your sales team. It really is exciting stuff. But first, a little bit about LFBB and what's in it for you when we're talking about putting wings on your business. First of all, our mission at LFBB is to do this, to unleash the latent power of every salesperson and every business leader in the world. Anyone who's associated with generating business, we're in the business of unleashing the latent power that you have hidden. Now, when we say latent, we mean power or quality that's yet to come forth, that may emerge and develop. It's there, but we need to unleash it. It's sitting, waiting to be activated. It's dormant. And it suggests inactivity or something, but it's there, and we can take the handbrakes off. We can unleash that using the systems and using the sciences, using the combined sciences that we use at LFBB. We at LFBB really live in four worlds, where these four worlds intersect. The world of sports science and human performance, where I came from way back in the 70s and the 80s. And then over the years, the science of sales and business growth, where I've spent the last 20 to 30 years, and how that's linked in with systems thinking, the systems approach. As Deming says, 94% of your problems are due to systems, not the people. And so when we put those together, we get incredible power, incredible synergy. And when we add this life science, the science of yogic science, you say, oh, you're going a bit hippie now. Wait till you find out how that 10,000-year-old science can be applied and laid and overlaid and intersect so beautifully with these three other worlds. This is what we're bringing to the table when we're working with you and your team. And so here, when we talk about this fellow, Sir David Brailsford, he really is using all those sciences in what he did with the British cycling team. And let's just talk about this for a second. And here's a great article from Harvard Business Review, how 1% performance improvements led to Olympic gold. Let's just read a couple of these things. When Sir David Brailsford became head of the British cycling in 2002, the team had almost no record of success. British cycling had only won a single gold medal in its 76-year history. That quickly changed under Sir David's leadership. At the 2008 Beijing Olympics, his squad won 7 out of 10 gold medals available in track cycling, and they matched that achievement at the London Olympics 4 years later. Sir Dave now leads Britain's first ever professional cycling team, which has won 3 of the last 4 Tour de France events. What a history of performance improvement. Now you go, how did he do it? Well, Sir Dave, a professional or former professional cycler who holds an MBA, applied a theory of marginal gains to cycling. He gambled that if the team broke down everything they could think of that goes into competing on a bike, and then improved each element by 1%, they would achieve a significant aggregated increase in performance, 1% on 100 or more areas. So HBR asks them, can you share some examples of your marginal gains approach? And as Sir Dave says, to give you a bit of background, when we first started out, the top of the Olympic podium seemed like a very long way away. Aiming for gold was too daunting. But as an MBA, I'd become fascinated with Kaizen, that Japanese approach, Kaizen, change for the better, continuous and never-ending improvement, and as Kaizen and other process improvement techniques. It struck me that we should think small, not big, and adopt a philosophy of continuous improvement through the aggregation of marginal gains. Forget about perfection, focus on progression and compound improvements. Look at this. Forget about perfection, focus on progression and compound the improvements. So that's what he did. We're striving for improvement. We are always striving for improvement, for those 1% gains in absolutely every single thing we do. And look at the results he got. So here it is. When you start to do the maths on this, 1% better each day over 365 days, look at the numbers here. Yet if you get 1% worse, it just gets worse and worse and worse. You take that even further. What we do is we start today, start making those small changes, adjusting and accepting and aiming to be a high-performing leader, and we end up in a completely different place than that person who chooses to reject change, maintain the status quo, and go for even marginal or low-performing. Marginal gains gap. Over time, simple errors or simple disciplines make all the difference. Small change, big difference. Small change, big difference. As Sir David says, we've got this saying, performance by aggregation of marginal gains. It means taking the 1% from everything you do, finding a 1% margin for improvement in everything you do. That's what we try to do from the mechanics upwards. So everyone looking at that 1% improvement. And so it goes on, that compounding effect, that exponential effect of applying marginal gains. I also talked about podium principles, which we can apply directly to your business. Strategy. Where are we now? Where do we want to be? Where's the gap? Then let's brainstorm what it's going to take to win, to close that gap. We ask ourselves the question, is the gap bridgeable? How do we close the gap? And maybe we need to be ruthless but compassionate. Strategy first. Then human performance. Let's look at the behavioral psychology and how to create an environment of optimum performance. Let's use and apply high performance behavior psychology to your team. And then we also look at continuous improvement, the 1%, the Kaizen, identifying those critical success factors and then work to continuously improve those so that everyone starts looking for ways to improve those critical success factors in their sphere of influence. The bike, for example, 1% improvement on handlebars, wheels, forks, tyres, road drivetrain, frame. Then they talked about a whole range of things, including the painting of the colour to get less dust in the vans based on their testing. There's a whole lot of fantastic pieces, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, leading to winning 7 out of 10 gold. Also the coaching. He says you'll get more from a 900,000 pound rider with a coach than you would from a 1 million pound rider without a coach. The power of coaching, the power of coaching. Team GB, no British had ever won Tour de France until 2010. Dave Brailsford, Performance Director of Sky, was asked to change that. Dave's plan was to win in 5 years by optimising every aspect of performance, but they did it in 2.5 years. Sir Bradley Wiggins became the first British cyclist to win Tour de France in 2012. Chris Froome won Tour de France in 2013. The British cycling team, also coached by Dave, won 70% of gold medals at 2012. These principles work. So how can we apply those principles of marginal gains to your sales figures? Well, let's look at 1% improvement possibilities in your lead generation. Then we look at pre-meet positioning, persuasion, how you set yourself up before you even meet the client. Marketing, rapport and position building. And let's go for a 1% or 2% improvement there. We know that makes a difference. Then what about needs discovery questions, understanding customer needs and helping the customer understand their needs more? What about then how you go about establishing value, establishing the value that the customer actually wants solved, created, manifested? And then what about a 1% improvement in how you go about presenting your customers, your company's solutions? What about a 1% improvement in how you get the prospect involved in co-creating plans and methodology so they're more committed to you? And then what about a 1% improvement in how you go about qualifying both before and during the sales process? Checking, are they with you? Are they with you still? We talk about the yeses, getting more yeses. What about a 1 or 2% improvement in your sales planning? What about a 1 or 2% improvement in your time management and productivity and efficiency? Or what about a 1% improvement in how you handle objections? And what about another 1 or 2% improvement in how you go about gaining commitment, closing the deal, asking for the business? Now you can see already you start to get a compounding effect when you work 1%, 1% on all of those. And there may be a range of other areas which we know there are. But just imagine improving in each of those areas and then going, wow, what's that going to look like at the end of the day in terms of our profitability at the end of the year? You see, when we're always striving for those areas for improvement, beautiful things happen. we start making difference to lead conversion rate, average dollar sale, margins, repeat purchases and repeat contracts. Then we start improving how you go about getting referrals. Then we talk about how you improve the way you get a longer contract with the client. What about also, when you do all of this, less staff turnover, better staff retention, particularly from your A-grade players? All of these things start to compound and add up, and there are probably other things we can work on together and you can identify. But when we start to do this, this is what we do in terms of the marginal gains, the compound effects of these marginal gains. It's so beautiful. Let's move forward, because the green light on this means fantastic results for you and your business. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next session.